So I'm on my way to meet Mohamad el Masri. This guy is very, very interesting, okay? 2012, graduates from Vancouver Film School. He's a writer, he's a director, he's a producer, he's done it all. He's working with BBC America, he's worked with HBO. This guy's got an incredible career timeline, but what I love about Mohamad is that he didn't want to just meet in any old coffee shop. No. Before you meet with Mohamad, when he comes back to Vancouver, you gotta go to the bookstore. So this is where I'm going to check him out, and I think you're gonna dig him. So, this is an interesting place you have selected for meeting. Tell me about this place. This is the first time I think we've ever done an episode where we opened in a bookstore.
Yeah, well, you know, the Paper Hound was kind of in the lineage of bookstores on Pender, came after McLeod's. McLeod's has been around forever, but, you know, McLeod's is like, you know, like a bookstore. Somebody picked up a bookstore and like shook it violently and then put it back down and said, yeah, let's just keep it that way.
In the digital age, I think that says a lot about you, that the bookstore is where you would want to hang out. What do you think about the importance of storytelling? You know, are you aware of that? Do you see that as restrictive when you begin a project? Talk to me about storytelling today and how that impacts you.
Yeah, I think if we're going to talk about kind of inventing a new story to tell, that's a daunting task that I don't think any writer should necessarily take on. But I think the opportunity every writer has and can bring to their work is specificity and point of view. You know,
Sure.
How can I filter a story that's been told 1,000 times by, you know, 1,000 writers through a really singular, specific point of view and lens on the world? And that's what you bring as a writer. That's what you've got to not only inform your work, but to sell to the world. You know, just from a business standpoint, when you know you're going out to the marketplace, you're selling yourself as much as you are your work.
And that to me is, I mean, I think you just hit it right there. And I want to talk to you about your new project. It's Cold Medina. Can we, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Talk to me about this. I want to hear about it.
Cold Medina is a 1-hour drama series pilot that I'm developing. It came after about, you know, 3 or 4 months of development. I wrote it over a weekend.
Really? The whole thing over a weekend?
Yeah, I wrote the first 2 episodes.
Wow.
As well as a series pitch document that kind of encapsulated what the show was about. And the show is really largely about, it's kind of hewn from my childhood, coming to North America with my family as refugees of the Lebanese Civil War. Mm-hmm. So it's drawn from a lot of autobiographical elements, but it's fictional. You
say it was over a weekend, but had this been an idea that, you know, was germinating for weeks or months beforehand? I mean, I find that for a lot of people, they're going to be inspired that you got to reach that level and you're doing that. It can't be as easy as just a really creative weekend.
No. I mean, for me, writing is the actual act of typing, you know, a script, I think is like 5% of actual writing. You know, most of writing, 95% of writing, as far as I'm concerned and as far as what I've seen, is problem solving, you know, structure, thinking about characters and background, and really incubating an idea. And the idea itself is, I mean, that was 35 years in the making. I mean, that's just life stuff that had kind of built up, you know, as far as like a story that I wanted to tell that was about a particular experience that I had. And I think for any writer, that's what you have to do. You have to kind of mine, not necessarily non-fiction elements of your life, but, you know, just kind of what are the kind of overriding themes and ideas that have shaped your life and the path you've taken in any kind of way. And that's where Cold Medina came from. And so that also, with all the kind of political tumult in the world and
of course,
having to do with, you know, particularly Syria and the and, you know, just also the way that people who were like me were portrayed in television and film, and I kind of wanted to upend that narrative and how these people were perceived. So it was a lot of things coming together, and it came out in this particular project.
You did it, you know, in an impressive fashion. I mean, you've only graduated from VFS 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Not bad, my friend.
No, 2012, and I started my assistant gig on Continuum with Simon Barry in early 2012.
What would you say to young writers, to young creative producers who want to do something like this? What's step one?
I think step one is like really you know, you have to make a choice. You have to make a choice to expose yourself and take a little bit of risk, and really kind of use your fear of failure to your advantage. Kind of leverage that by just being okay with failing.
Yeah.
And you know, surprise, surprise, when you're kind of okay with failing, you do a lot of good.
You know, I feel like I could get lost in here with you all day, man. This is super cool. But I'm gonna need a coffee if I'm gonna keep up with you.
I love coffee.
Let's go. Thanks, man.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm gonna check these out.
All right.
I feel like it's a ceremony.
It is a bit of a ceremony.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a ritual. It's part of the experience. When you come here, what they do is when you buy the book, they wrap it in paper, like you're buying a ham. You know, you're buying like a spiced ham or something. It's like, look, it's like giving yourself a Christmas present.
Absolutely.
They've got it's got the little stamp in it too. I might just leave this wrapped for a few days.
Oh, it does have the stamp on it too.
Here's a manual of map reading, air photo reading, and field sketching. Part 2. There's a part 1. It's not here.
You know, when my producer was working on getting you up to do this episode, you know, just a couple months back, the new Trump administration did not make life for Mohamad el Masri easy to travel.
Yeah.
You know, fast forward from small town Canada and the first feeling of that to that. I mean, what the hell?
It's funny, you know, when we do what we do as writers and storytellers, particularly in the cinematic art form, we kind of take it. We go, oh my God, this is happening to me, and it's really crappy, and I can't travel yet. All these people around me at my work can like get in a plane and go to Canada or wherever, but I've got to stay put because I don't know what's going to happen and whether I can get back into the country and all that stuff. So there was a real kind of siege environment, and where, you know, what is going on? Where are we going to be in 2 or 3 months? So, you know, I was informed by, you know, immigration lawyers to kind of stay put. You don't know what's happening, but there's that, and then on the other side, you go as a creator, as a storyteller, you go, wow, this is actually now an opportunity, because it's not only an opportunity to tell a story, but it's elevating material you're already working on. So we were in the writers' room with Alan Ball and HBO, and that's when that happened. We were in the midst of that. And all of a sudden, our show, when Trump was elected, kind of took on a new meaning, even though it was stuff that had been developed before. Even Cold Medina, all of a sudden, took on a new sense of urgency.
Talk to me about rejection then, the opposite of this.
Yeah.
There's gotta have been, it's not an easy thing, and we never want a future graduate to think it is, but to what degree do you have to have the tolerance for that? Has it been painful? Is it, how do you manage that?
I think you have to know that you're gonna have to slum it for a while, because that's where you're going to be learning, and you're going to be building relationships, and you're going to be doing all the things that you think are taking you off track, but they're actually informing everything that you will eventually be doing and want to do. So when I was a development executive for 3 years, and before that an assistant, it was very much about other people's work.
Yeah.
And there's a certain amount of like humility and graciousness that you have to train yourself. You know, as artists, we're all about me, what I need to say, what I want to do. But in that position, you're nurturing others. And, you know, what I learned at RDF and in that role was like, how do I make other writers better? How do I guide them? How do I find their voice? How do I elevate them in a way? How do I mentor them that's going to be beneficial for them and for me in my position? So that, you know, you talk about rejection. It's not necessarily rejection. It was like, oh, I had to spend 3 or 4 years not worrying about my own work.
At a certain point, you went, okay, Cold Medina is done. Sure, have a look at it, send it to the agent. Let's shop it around.
Yeah.
You know, you're a creative, you're an artist. Whenever I talk to them, there is this feeling of I'm never done. Do you fight that, or did it hit a point for you where you went, there it is, now I'm happy with it? How happy with your work are you today compared to when you're still a student?
Well, I think the difference is a matter of confidence. I have a lot more confidence. In terms of quality, you know, I don't know. I mean, I think that's ultimately for others to judge. You know, do I know a lot more about writing and storytelling and all these things since then? Absolutely. So confidence level is there. It's really about you as a person. What's your character? Do you have integrity? Do you work hard? Do you show up on time? You know, are you reliable? You know,
Is this by design? What an incredible pathway to get to where you've gotten. How much of it do you wake up and go, huh?
yeah.
And how much of it was, no, this is what I said I would do and what I want? Can you operate like that in this industry? Can you really career plan that far out?
I wish I could say I had a grand plan or that I like mapped it out. No, I mean, you can ask my friends. I mean, it was always a crapshoot. But you know, there were definitely seminal moments where I made decisions and choices where it could have gone either way. There were,
Sure.
you know, I could have stayed in advertising, made a lot of money and you know, done just fine. But I made a choice when I had an opportunity to stay to just
You're having
dump
more
it.
fun. There's no doubt about that, man.
Having a lot of fun, man.
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
And it's in large part and thanks to my experience at VFS, which was a seminal kind of milestone in that journey.
What was Vancouver Film School like? What do you recall? How did it play into where you are?
I think it was essential. I mean, I didn't study writing. I'm a writer, but I didn't study writing. I was in film production. I studied directing and cinematography, which is great because you learn not only the technical aspect of filmmaking, which is really crucial, but just the grammar of cinema. You know, if you're a cinephile and the vocabulary and grammar of a visual medium, that by osmosis and for practical and artistic senses of the word, make you a better writer. I think you just become a better writer by being immersed in it. So I took advantage. I mean, I tried to make the most of it, and I met a lot of really great people and future friends, and also met people in the industry. And that's where I got my opportunity to get my foot in the industry, was through the school.
What would you say to anybody who wants to get where you're going? What's the answer?
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard, as I said before, to cut out the noise. But I would say, everyone should kind of know that there's not one way. There's not one path. You can kind of be curious about the way people got to where they are and hear my story or your story or anybody's. But at the end of the day, you have to craft your own journey, and you have to make it work for you, and it has to make sense to you. There's 1,000 different ways to get there.
Right on. I can tell you, Vancouver Film School is so proud of you. I hope you are enjoying the ride.
Thanks a lot.
You got to get back to LA, and we'll get you a cab. But I hope you'll come see us again.
I plan on it.
All right, let's get you out
All
of
right.
here. More importantly,
Yeah.
let's talk about intimate wear, curvy sizes, and
Yeah.
stockings.
This is
Vancouver.
as you can see, curvy sizes is what's really important to me.